I probably use ChatGPT daily at this point, pretty much every day. Last year, I made more than like 60% of Major League Baseball players, maybe more than that. And I think AI right now can help you with that if you can use it the right way. And I don't think that there's going to be negative repercussions from AI for a little while, although I can't see a world in which there's not.
This is what you have to do. I really believe you have to get ahead of it right now and start implementing some laws. There has to be human representation.
But there's too many people who can do it. There's too many people who have access to creating this kind of software. But no matter what law you have in place, it doesn't matter because somebody's going to create something that will break that law. Hey everybody, this is Keith.
What's going on? This is D, and welcome back to the Defiant Life podcast, where we defy the laws of mediocrity.
There you go. You remembered.
I got it right. You know, if you do something enough times, you know what I heard? You know how they say practice makes perfect?
Yeah.
It's not true. It's perfect practice makes
there
perfect.
Yep.
Right? And we'll talk. That's going to be a whole nother episode.
Yeah. Probably will.
Because there's a lot of times where we do something repetitiously the wrong way.
Yeah.
Just because you do something a whole lot of times doesn't mean that you're doing it right or getting better. You're just doing it better. You're getting better at doing it that way.
That's right. That's actually a good segue into my son's golf lesson this weekend.
All right,
this past weekend. He wanted to play golf. So we got him golf lessons. And so he went in and we were walking up to the range. The golf pro was talking to me about his son. He was like, "Oh, I'm glad you want to get started this young. You know, he's 8. He just turned 8." And so the pro was like, "I'm glad you're getting started this young. My son, when he was that age, all he wanted to do was play video games. I couldn't really get him to do anything else." Mm-hmm. And he said, "But, you know, I guess it worked out because he's in college now for IT." I was like, "Oh, that's cool, you know.
Nice.
Where's he go to school, whatever." We're just talking. He's like, well, now he's getting his master's in coding." And then my first thought was, that ChatGPT, boy.
Bro, that's real. Okay, listen. What won't ChatGPT or AI be able to do?
I don't know. In the long term, I think it's hard for me to think of one thing. It really is. I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but I think it's interesting. I started thinking a lot about the education system when he was talking about that, because he was talking about his son going into a really good career field, and in the past, something like IT would have been a good field to get into. Although I can't see how that field exists in 10 or 20 years. Maybe it does, but like I can go write code right now. I don't have a clue how to do it, but I could probably prompt ChatGPT to write code. So in the short term, though, stuff like that will probably help people who are coders, because I don't really know how to prompt.
Yeah,
you know, these what are they, LLMs or whatever, large language models.
LLMs.
Yeah, I don't know how to prompt it the right way. It would probably be hard for me. In 10 years, though, it ain't gonna be hard for me at all.
I know. It's
like just hey, I want an app that does this and that, and you know, has this and looks like that, and here's my logo.
It's crazy,
and
man.
in 2 minutes, it's built. So like, I don't see how somebody in coding has a job in 10 years. Maybe, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know that much about that whole field, but like,
right. It's like we're living in a genie in a bottle type, and that's what we're moving towards. If you can think it, if you can say it, well, you might not even have to say it. If you can think it, type of thing.
That's true.
Which is crazy. Which is very crazy to me.
But I think this is something that you know, I started a school a while back, partially for stuff like this, because I feel like our education system is so antiquated even now, where like the stuff that you learn at school is not really all that relevant for the most part for the real world. I think most people would agree with that. Like most people are like, well, why don't we learn about taxes and money and like real world stuff at school? And so that just reminded me of that, man. He was talking about that, and I was like, dang.
I know, man.
Like, what does he think is going to happen in 10 years? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it just seems to me like that field is already.
Yeah. Well, it's ironic is what it is, that he's going into a field that he's probably helping to create to replace him.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, gosh.
Isn't that part of what entrepreneurs are supposed to do?
Kind of. I mean, you got to have an exit strategy, but that's a whole nother thing. Like, the exit strategy for humans might be death. You know? I don't know. You
Yeah,
know,
it might be AI.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, and that's the thing. So I've been thinking about that a lot. You're talking about the antiquated, and our education system as it is right now is antiquated. Like I don't know too many people that really need to have a stronghold on geometry.
Yeah.
Like how
Well,
often
yeah. If
you,
you go into a certain trade, maybe.
that's the only time.
Yeah.
I can understand going into some of those
Engineer
things once you get
or
into a
architect.
specialty field. Yeah,
Yeah.
like then it's relevant. It makes sense. But if I'm going to be a mechanic, I don't need to learn participles.
That's true. I think that some educators would probably say that stuff is there to help you learn how to think.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's way better ways to do
Use your
that.
time.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, so like in our school, we have Socratic discussions. So like we sit
Mm-hmm.
around, we pose a question, or they might pose a question,
That's good.
and then we have a discussion about it. I feel like that is something that teaches you how to think. It also teaches you how to interact with people,
Mm-hmm.
teaches you how to think logically and critically, and it teaches you how to disagree with people without that turning into hatred.
Right.
And I think it's like you learn so many more skills than just doing worksheets in geometry or calculus or whatever the thing is,
Because the test. So the way we dictate and grade academia, scholastic aptitude is through most of the time a written test,
Mm-hmm.
right? Since I finished school, I haven't had to fill out or bubble in anything.
Yeah.
But so tests don't look like that in real life. So I like that you guys do Socratic discussions because you're practicing real life. That's a real
Yeah.
litmus test of what, if I'm having to change my oil, I might know how to do it, mentally, cognitively, know what needs to happen. But actually getting in there, there's gonna be little things that I hadn't accounted for, and also like I had no idea that it was gonna be this hard to take this nut off, or just so many different things, right? So I don't know,
we
man.
did rebuild an engine the other day.
We did, yeah.
So I ain't never had any education in that field, but
Well, let me ask you this: so we talking about artificial intelligence. What about situations like that where my alternator goes out on the side of the road? What are they coming to play then?
All right, so I've been thinking about this a lot.
Okay, all right.
Let me just.
I'm teeing it up for you then. Okay.
So what we thought was going to happen with AI was that it was going to replace menial tasks first. So if you think about, like, we grew up with the Jetsons, right?
Yep.
So they had a robot who was a maid.
Rosa.
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but
yeah.
I remember seeing her roll around in the house.
Yep.
And I think originally that's what people thought was going to happen. And we saw it with cashiers. But really, I can't think of that many jobs that were taken by robots. I mean, manufacturing, there was definitely jobs. So I guess it kind of started in like farming. Machines kind of took people's jobs. Everybody thought. So this is interesting because everybody right now is, well, people who are thinking about this are probably thinking like there's not going to be jobs left. Maybe that's true. I don't know. It's hard for me to envision it too. But whenever cars were invented, people thought all these horse and carriage companies are going to go out of business and nobody's going to be able to work. It's going to be terrible. And then they just created taxis. And then it was, farm machinery. Well, 80% of people in the U.S. worked in a farm back then. That's probably not right. Don't quote me on that. But I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It was probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so that went down to almost nobody. But we all figured out something to do.
Right.
We figured out a different way. So I feel like replacing those menial tasks is something that I've always been an advocate for, because then that frees up our brain space to tackle harder and harder problems. The problem with AI right now is that it's taking away the high level tasks. People didn't expect that.
The problem.
Writers, artists, like graphic designers, coding. There's very few things that I can think of from a high level perspective where a machine is not going to be able to problem solve and think better than a human in a few years. So where do we fit in? I don't really know, but I think in the short term, what you're talking about is probably gonna be, those are going to be the careers that are safer, the ones that are a little bit more hands-on. We're in kind of real estate, been in construction, stuff like that before. So those jobs are probably safer at the moment than accountants. There was a study that was released, and I saw a video about it, and they were saying the first job to go is going to be accountants, because if a machine can learn the tax code and then do way better math than anybody else, why do we need an accountant anymore?
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Yeah, so like it's weird because it's like replacing, like I've been seeing like supermodels getting fired because now you can just make an AI model.
Yeah, see, that's
it's not real, but it looks just as good, right? And eventually that's going to be better. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, man.
It really is interesting because the only thing, while I'm sitting here thinking through it in my mind, what place would humans have if AI can do all of these things? You know, and it's funny, you know, you and I mentioned it the other day, and I was like, well, you know, they can't be a lifeguard, but like in the movie iRobot, they gonna make them waterproof, and
eventually,
they gonna be, probably, you know, they gonna probably have drones in the sky that come down and save people, and But I'm thinking about, and so just as you were saying, even with models and things, like, so because I was right before you said, I was thinking about in the entertainment realm, like sports, football, basketball.
Yeah, well, think about this: if an AI program can write, you know, like you think about ChatGPT, I could have, I've been on there. We use it all the time.
Yeah.
We use it in our marketing.
We do.
Let's say I went on there and said, hey, write me a 50,000 word book about this. If I'm an author, now I can write 300 books a year if I want to.
Yeah.
And so if I'm a movie director, I don't need actors anymore. I don't need anything other than a machine that I can prompt and say, hey, create a movie with this plot line, with this storyline, with these characters. And now it's done in a day.
Right.
And then eventually it'll probably be done in a minute.
Yeah.
So like you could create 1 million movies in a year if you wanted to.
So it seems like we're just going to be bystanders watching the world do its thing.
I don't know. I'm sure there's another alternative. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. I mean, and just like you said, to your concept about us evolving and figuring out and doing more things, you know, once the cars came around, then we had a need for mechanics, right? Once farmers stuff came, then we had a need for grocery stores and people to run that stuff, and, you know, just different things like that. So I'm curious as to what we do.
Me too. You know, I don't want to get political necessarily right now.
We can do that though.
We can if you want. But it's interesting because before COVID, I was actually like pro shipping jobs overseas that were lower, kind of lower level tasks, like menial tasks. You know, I don't really. It never really bothered me for like somebody in another country to make, you know, $1 or $2 an hour, because if their standard of living is still good, and, you know, over here it costs us, you know, 10 times that to create the same thing, why not ship it over there and do it? Then COVID happened, and then I started to realize, well, whoever controls the manufacturing also controls that product. So like it's a little bit, you know, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I don't even remember where I was going with that, but
so we were talking about, but no, we were just talking about sports industries, entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, just the thing is with this, like, I think the idea of having a tool like AI that can take over those smaller tasks is interesting, and I think it's not a negative thing, and I don't think that there's going to be negative repercussions from AI for a little while, although I can't see a world in which there's not. So, like in the long term, kind of weird, you know. I heard Elon Musk talking about a few years ago on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was saying that he doesn't know what's going to happen with AI, but he's certain that we won't control it. Whatever it is, we won't be in control.
I mean, you could, if you sit here right now and play that out a little bit in your mind, they have a corner marker on all the occupations because they're going to be better at us than everything that we can do.
Yep.
Then what role? What would the need be for us?
I think that's where you get all these sci-fi movies where the robots just like take over, and then they don't need humans anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know how we don't get to that place. I don't know. I hope there's a different option for my kids' sake, apparently, especially.
But here's the thing: like, do you know anyone that's not in favor of this stuff? Because it can help any and everyone to. So real quick, we were talking about surgeries. right?
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting one because we were talking about this and you said something like, I don't know
get my hair cut.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust AI to cut my hair, and
Right.
my response was, well, we trust a robot to do heart surgery. So like,
blew my mind, bro.
how could you not trust it to cut your hair?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just depends on how, I guess how well we can end up, how refined we can make these things. Because I'm thinking about getting them like a full body massage from a non-livable thing. How good could that be? But then again, I remember I sit down in these super expensive, really nice massage chairs. I'm like, this is really nice. This is just a chair. It's not even thinking, you know? Right. So,
Yeah, I was listening to some people talk about it. He was saying that I think it was Amazon. Somebody had replaced some of their workforce with machines or with robots, basically, in their like warehouse facilities, and they were saying they cost a fraction of what humans cost, and they're 3 to 4 times more productive. And so the technology is not that great yet. I mean, it's great compared to what we had 50 years ago, but it's not great compared to what it's going to be in just 10 years. So how much more could they be 100 times more productive than a human and cost, a tenth of the cost of a year of human labor, maybe? So like, I don't know. I don't know where we go.
Man,
there's got to be somewhere.
Well,
maybe it's Mars. I don't know.
Well, no, this is what you have to do. I really believe you have to get ahead of it right now and start implementing some laws. Like there has to be human representation.
No, you
see what I'm saying?
That's a good thought, but it's never going to happen in reality because we can pass laws in America, but China's not going to do that.
That's true.
Russia's not going to do that.
Yeah.
There's too many people in the world who don't care about that. So somebody is going to create it. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It can be created. It can be a thing, and it can run and do everything it wants to do in China and in Russia. But what I'm saying is, like, in our country or wherever you live, if it's something that you lobby against, then lobby against it and say there has to be human representation or a certain capacity, a certain percentage represented by. Can you imagine if we had cabinet members and stuff that were not. That were made in America, so essentially they're American citizens, right?
Yeah, I actually. So like, your thought is good. It's just that there's too many people who can do it. There's too many people who have access to creating this kind of software. So no matter what law you have in place, it doesn't matter because somebody's going to create something that will break that law. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Maybe you want a robot who is 1,000 times more intelligent than the smartest human who's ever lived to be your president.
Maybe, but at what cost?
If you can program emotion and like, I don't know. It's it's when you start thinking about long term how this plays out, it's really difficult. I think in the short term, it's exciting though in a lot of ways because like right now, we can use AI to do a whole lot more stuff to be. So it's interesting too. Okay. Think about when computers were created.
Okay.
I don't know when that was, but
70s maybe.
Yeah, probably before
maybe
that, but
50s,
like before
60s.
when they became readily available to people.
Okay. Let's say 80s.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, 70s. The internet was the 90s, right? Before that. Anyway, when computers became a thing and people could do a whole lot more work, the thought process was we're going to be able to shorten our work week to maybe 5 or 10 hours a week instead of 40 or 50, right? But instead what happened was we decided, hey, we can do a whole lot more in the same amount of time. So our work week didn't get shorter, it got longer. We're like, hey, if we stay 5 more hours, we can get 2 weeks worth of work done that we had to do before. So I feel like something similar is happening right now with AI where we're like, hey, I can use AI to do 10 times more than I could before. So like I can write a blog post in 30 seconds now. I can create a video script in, 10 seconds. And I don't have to think about it at all. All I have to do is plug this stuff in. ChatGPT or Jasper or one of these AI programs are going to spit out exactly what I need. And now I can do 10 times more than I used to.
Right. And just real quick, because this is how my mind works. That Rascal Flatts song talks about that. It says Sunday was a day of rest. Now it's one more day for progress.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think, but here's so that goes back to my point. At what cost are we doing these things? It makes sense if you think about it linearly. It's like, I have a calculator. I can do a whole lot more work.
Yeah.
Because I can do stuff a lot faster, a lot less energy, a lot more efficient. Sunday, weekends stuff, people rest and everything. But if you use those days like, hey, you know what, I ain't doing nothing, I can get a whole lot more done. It'll be way more productive for me, and I can get a lot more done if I just use this time instead of just resting. So, but what is that costing you though? Like, what are you putting out? What are you pouring out? Is it worth it? Like, how valuable are some things to you? You know, and I get the concept.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But if you have an AI that's doing those things as well, you know, but so I'm really trying to wrap my mind around where we fit and where we're going to belong. Is it a case where if you can get enough money to have an AI doing stuff for you, do we just put them in a whole area that can run all the jobs, run all the stuff, create energy, make sure that everything is safe and sound and stuff is working productive and take humans out of it, and then we just really just coast and they just work for us remotely type of thing, you know?
Well,
Like we can't just
here's the
die
thing.
off.
The people who have money and resources right now to create their own AI can certainly get ahead.
Yeah.
The problem is there's going to come a time when humans are no longer in control of that, of AI.
Yeah, I know.
So like you can create something to do work for you right now, but I don't see a way where it doesn't become autonomous in a way where maybe it decides it doesn't want to do that anymore, or maybe it decides it's more productive to do something that you don't want it to do. I don't know. So like, I don't know where it goes. It's interesting.
Well, even, okay, so let's go back to, we were talking about, for example, we were talking about Russia and China, and they're lobbying very hard for this stuff, and they're pushing the agenda for it really strong. Are they not thinking far enough ahead, or do they not care? Do they not know that they might be put in a compromised position one day where they might not be needed at all to any capacity? You see what I'm saying?
I don't know, but what happens if somebody who is already a nihilist or already is, you know?
Yeah. So you need to get that before somebody else does, type of thing.
Yeah, I heard an analogy recently. The guy said that right now it's like AI is our child and it's learning from us. So the best thing that we can do to prevent our own destruction is to love each other, which is an interesting thought. It's also not possible, I don't think, because think about this. Elon Musk bought Twitter, right? Why did he buy Twitter? I don't know, but possibly because think of all the data that you have, all the interactions between humans that now can be learned by these large language models.
Right.
Same thing with TikTok in China, right?
Yep. Same thing right now.
Yeah. So it's learning from us in a way that's not necessarily the most positive way all the time, right?
But it's who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. So maybe it just becomes another human with human flaws that's way more intelligent and powerful. I don't know.
That's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's essentially turning into a human, you know, we're naturally selfish, right?
Mm-hmm. That's why you have all the sci-fi movies.
Yeah, they've been
somebody else thought about this 100 years ago.
I didn't think I'd ever be saying this, but we need aliens, bruh. Come out.
Hey, listen, Alex Hormozy posted a video today, or I don't know when he posted it. I saw it today.
Yeah,
where he said, "Okay, this is the thought process." He was reacting to another video, I think. I don't remember, but he said something like, "AI." Let's say that there's aliens out there, other civilizations and other planets, and let's say that they're able to visit us, which means that they're probably a lot more advanced than us because we haven't figured that out.
Right.
Yet. So if they figured out interstellar travel or whatever, then they figured out they're a lot further advanced than us. So that means they probably already created AI.
Yeah.
So that means, what do we do whenever we go to a new planet? First, we send rovers, we send robots. So what if the aliens
going, bro.
have already sent robots that look like humans? Maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
It gets far out, but the thing is, like, all of that stuff is absolutely possible now. And we're seeing it for the first time in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Where, like, I saw a picture on Facebook, and I swear I thought this is from my high school. Somebody from my high school posted it, and it was like it looked like it's from the 90s, you know, and I was like, who are these people? It's like two girls and a guy. And I was like, man, these are probably people I went to high school with. And I'm trying to think of who they were. And I looked at it for like a full minute or two. I'm sitting there like looking at this picture, trying to see if I knew these people and if I knew the house they were in, all this stuff. And then I read the thing, and it was an AI generated photo. It was not even real, but it looked like it was familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really that far off for a human, a robot to be created that's so human that you can't tell it apart from a human. That in the next 50 years, I don't see how that's not a thing that happens all the time. So I don't know.
Bro, yeah, it's happening.
This is not what we planned on talking about.
We did not, but I feel like we're
also,
on Joe
let me
Rogan
just
podcast
say,
right now.
I'm not a representative of Remarkable, but I do have one in front of me.
Okay.
For no other reason than that I love it. I'm not going to use it. I'm just pretending.
Right.
It's awesome. So if you
this podcast is brought to you by. No, we can't say that. We're not sponsored by them.
Not at all. Although you should buy one if you haven't bought one.
But seriously though, for the here and now, let's just say all that stuff is 100 years away, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say that, at least, just for my peace of mind.
Okay.
Let's talk about how people can use AI right now to make their lives a whole lot better, a lot easier. Because like you mentioned a little bit earlier, that's something that we use out initially because it's different and it's changed. And I always say that I'm old school. When I first heard about Chat GPT, which is the AI software that can curate, all kind of stuff, anything. You ask it a question, write me this, write me that, give it specifics. It's going to give you a nice answer. I was like, I'm a creative, bruh.
Yeah.
But I find myself going over to the dark side.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And then just making tweaks and adjustments because at the end of the day, I'm too prideful to say this is better than what I can think of. But I can at least edit it a little bit and like, okay, now it's ready,
Yeah.
But do you find yourself using this stuff on a little bit more of a consistent basis, Chat GPT and things like that?
Yeah, I probably use Chat GPT daily at this point, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So the biggest help for me right now with Chat GPT, because I love to write. I'm a writer. And I've used it a lot for ideas, for names of things. What should I call this? Whatever it is that I'm trying to create or write about. And also for ideas on marketing, writing copy. So I have Jasper. I use Jasper for that. ChatGPT and Jasper, I don't know that the one's better than the other.
Yeah, they're pretty synonymous.
Yeah, they're well, one of them is trained by marketers. So maybe it's a little bit better. I don't know. Their copy seems pretty close.
Yeah.
But so I definitely have used that. I use it when I post an ad for a property listing, a rental. I've used it a couple times for that. I'll just go in and edit whatever it writes. So instead of it taking me an hour to write this or 30 minutes or whatever, it's like 3 minutes, and I can pump it out.
Yeah.
I've used it for logos. I've also used Motion for scheduling, calendar stuff. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but there's AI schedulers. If you have a big team, I think it's a good idea to probably put this into practice. But basically, it will align your schedules for your team, and it'll put stuff in the place that makes the most sense, so that you can maximize your productivity during the day.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So I use it all the time. And I think there's a lot that I'm not using right now that I probably will in the near future. And I think if you're a business owner and you're trying to compete, you almost have to at this point. Yeah. And you're probably not at the point where you have to right now, but in the next 5 years, I think you probably have to.
Like you have to have the internet right now.
Correct.
And you have to have a cell phone.
Yep.
A smartphone.
Yep.
I remember I was so reluctant. Not really reluctant, but just I did not have the internet for the longest time because I was like, I just don't really need it.
I was the same way with smartphones.
Yeah. I
had a BlackBerry until not very long ago.
Loved my BlackBerry.
Me too.
Just sitting there like.
Yep. I did not want to switch over to the touch screen.
I feel you, bro. Same way.
But
But now you have to have one. You definitely have to have the internet. So the way I look at AI now, especially for entrepreneurs, I strongly encourage it because it's the best investment you can make as far as if you're hiring an employee for something. So, if you own a jingle business, if you got hired to write jingles for people or do marketing and part of your marketing is writing jingles, you can throw that stuff, a suggestion to Chat GPT instead of trying to hire somebody. That whole process can be a nightmare. It's less liability. It's a lot more cost effective. It's a lot cleaner. They don't sleep. Right. Yeah.
So that's sort of it. It's replacing the creatives, and nobody thought that was going to happen. People thought that they were going to be the ones who were, and like lawyers. I mean, the latest Chat GPT version passed the bar exam. Why do we need lawyers anymore? I don't know.
Do you
I
think,
mean, now we do, but in 10 years.
for sure, in a perfect world of that stuff.
Yeah.
So what about fashion and things like that? You think it's going to also they're going to figure that stuff out too? Because that's the ultimate form of creativity. Right? If you can, I guess if you can actually make you a logo, that's creative.
Yeah. It's just going to learn based on what it sees, humans doing, right?
Okay.
So,
well, here we go. I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole for a little bit longer. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So think about
everybody else is too. So
yeah. Think about remodeling a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how in the world are you going to get a robot to lay tile and stuff for you?
Well, right now we don't have that, right?
Yeah.
But robotics is probably further behind and slower moving than AI. I don't know that that's true, but I feel like it probably is just but I mean, you can get a robotic arm or leg if you want to.
That's true.
So here's the thing. In 10 years, if robotics continues and moves along with AI, what would stop an athlete from just amputating both legs and getting robotic legs that run 10 times faster?
Okay, so here's the thing. Your thinking is so progressive.
I don't know that it is.
No. I feel you.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea, but this is what I've been trying to get to the entire time is the human element of things. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, at what cost? I don't care if I knew that I can get 2 prosthetic robotic bionic legs and it was gonna be like, I'm gonna give you a $5 billion contract. I'm like, I pass.
Okay, so that's a good thought. I think right now, like in my lifetime, I'm not interested in that. But if I was 17 and all I cared about was baseball when I was 17, I didn't care about anything else. I would have died on a pitcher's mound. I didn't care.
Right.
I would have 100% gone to the doctor and said, "Hey, I can only throw 82. Like, 102 is better. So if you can do that, like whatever I got to do, I would have done it. Yeah, 100%. I would have gotten whatever it took for that to happen.
A prosthetic arm.
100%.
Really?
Done it. Yes. I wouldn't even want the lifestyle of a baseball player right now. But when I was 17, that's all I wanted to do. So at 18, if I could make that decision, I guarantee you I would have made that decision. So I think there's going to be a whole generation of people, and maybe in my kids' lifetime, who have to make that decision. If you want to be a professional athlete, you can't do it without prosthetics unless they outlaw it, but somebody's not going to.
Right, you're right.
Like right now, if you want to be an Olympic weightlifter and you want to actually compete to win, you have to take steroids.
You have
There's
to
no
steroids.
other way to do
I was just about to say that. I would rather take steroids.
I know I used to be in the weightlifting world in CrossFit.
Come on, CrossFit. Let's go. 8.
Yeah. So when I was doing that stuff, I was never competitive necessarily, especially not in powerlifting, but I enjoyed it, so I would research it a lot. Some of the people that I used to read and listen to, they had a seminar where they brought in Russian weightlifters. I want to say it was Russian, pretty sure. Somebody from overseas, pretty sure it was Russian. I don't want Vlad on my back, okay?
I like how we just say overseas.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Somewhere else.
But they live in Canada. Oh, yeah, that's overseas.
Yeah. Anyway, so these guys came in and they're like, "Hey, we got this program, whatever." And so they're asking about implementation. How do we do this? And the guys were like, "Hey, so like, what's y'all's schedule, for steroids?" They don't use the Latin language, but that's what they're asking. And the guys in America are like, "Hey, we can't do that. It's illegal here. We can't take it." And they're like, "Why did I even fly over here? You cannot do this program if you're not on steroids.
Wow.
And you can't compete without that. You just can't." So like, if you look at U.S. weightlifting versus pretty much anybody from overseas, we're not even in the same ballpark. It's not even close. The best weightlifter in America won't even make the team in most other countries. And it's because most of the guys here are trying to do it clean, and they can't do it. You can't compete.
They call it natty.
Yeah. That's, you're not going to do it. So I think we're coming to a point in the next, who knows when, but maybe in my kid's lifetime, where if they want to be a professional athlete of pretty much any kind, probably not their lifetime, maybe their kids though, then you can't compete unless you have some kind of an upgrade, right? So think about Neuralink. Elon Musk again.
Yeah.
Working on Neuralink, and it's going to be therapeutic in the beginning, helping people regain their eyesight, all this kind of stuff. What about, in the future when that chip in your brain can connect to the internet, and now instead of going to Google and typing something in, all I have to do is think, well, I need to know this answer, and there it is. There's no way that I can compete with you if you have that and I don't in the business world. It's just not possible. So if I want to survive in the business world, I have to do it, right?
Right.
So that might be in my kid's lifetime. It's already happening. They've already done at least one of these, right? So
yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's probably going to happen in my kid's lifetime. I don't know. Maybe it won't.
But see, that's a big 2-letter word though. If
yeah.
I want to compete. At some
You're
point, I'm gonna have to buy my hat and be like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm Amish now."
Me and you probably would do that, but not everybody will.
Yeah.
So like that's a dilemma for my children that I think about, because we're preparing them for this world that is, and this goes back to the school system. This is why we created a school for our kids, so that we could be more progressive.
Right.
I don't mean politically. I mean in a forward-thinking way where we don't necessarily have to follow these state standards that have been around for 150 years now and have not changed very much at all.
Different method, yeah.
Yeah, and we can just basically throw all that crap out the window and say, all right, the world now is this. Now you have a very big decision to make. How can we work through this in a logical and positive way? So anyway, it's going to be a dilemma for our kids to think about. So maybe instilling the right values is a good thing for that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to. You have to really, and I talk about it all the time about raising your perspective. And I think sometimes people just need to clear up and have a good perspective on things, because what's important.
Yeah.
What is, and I'm not even talking about like what's good, what's bad, but let's talk about value, not values. Let's talk about value. And that's what I'm saying. If it's $5 billion or my legs, I'm taking my legs every time.
Right. Not everybody will though.
You're right.
It's but still a decision that they have to make.
That's right. It's still a decision they have to make. So
we didn't have to make that decision. So
it
makes the world a little bit more complicated.
Although right now I got a bum shoulder and I would probably do anything. Listen, I'll take a baseball bat on this side if I can get rid of the pain in my shoulder.
Hey, my mom's got 2 titanium knees, so I mean.
That's wild, man. How them hips doing? They good?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
But I don't know. Yeah, it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how things progress in the not so distant future.
Yeah. Definitely will. I think I don't know. I think it's one of the most interesting things to me right
really
now.
Is.
Because I have no idea where this goes. It's very difficult to kind of plan and figure out. Although I think right now the main focus needs to be use it to your advantage as much as you can without sacrificing your value. So I heard somebody talking about this, and he was like, we've seen in the next 10 to 20 years, this will be a thing, but we've seen all these superhero movies growing up, and now before long, some of that stuff is going to be possible.
Yeah.
So like, whether that's flying with a jetpack or, something like, you have the choice to become a superhuman if you want to.
Oh my gosh.
That's an interesting idea.
I mean, I'm sure I've seen some like prototypes of people essentially becoming like Iron Man.
Yeah.
Or not even people becoming Iron Man. They're creating completely robotic Iron Man that are like weapons, assets for a country. Yeah. Release the Kraken in real life.
In real life.
What?
I know. This is a weird time.
It is a weird time. And it's not, and we're just getting started. So I'm I've been quoted to say at one point, I wish I could move off. Me and my people, we have a certain set of values, certain set of belief systems, and just be off the grid. And I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain way I want to live. There's a certain ecosystem I want to be involved in. And it does not include one dominated by artificial intelligence.
That's an interesting thought too. It's I think probably a different topic, but
yeah,
I was listening to, I don't know, Joe Rogan's podcast. I think it was David Cho was talking about, going to live with the Hadza, maybe somebody.
Those tribes.
Yeah,
I think you're talking about. Yeah.
So he was saying that he went over there, spent some time. I don't remember how long, but he basically said the first 2 or 3 days he was having withdrawals from his phone like trying to figure out what to do, bored all the time. And then he said, like, after 2 or 3 days, that stuff goes away, and then you just live it, and you have no stress, and you have, like, everybody's happy. There's no, like, I feel like that's how we were created, evolved, whatever you believe, to live.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we are, what's in our DNA. We talked a little bit about, like, you know, it's in our DNA to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of ways that kind of stuff is just like built into us. And so, like, what we're doing now is foreign. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just means it's foreign.
Yeah.
So it's harder to adapt quickly. And when we get back into, like, you know, natural state of human, it makes it a little bit easier probably.
Yeah. You know, I definitely agree. And there's generations of people that are born into this foreign way. That's all they know. And they have limitations and don't even realize it. Right. So I was watching this little thing the other day about a flea, and fleas can jump like 4 feet high. But if you put a flea in a 2-foot container and close the lid, it'll jump up, hit his head for a little while. And then after a few hours or whatever, it'll finally jump up and won't hit his head. Right. You take that lid off, let it jump. It can't jump out of that container. Right. You pour that flea on the table, it will only jump as far as that container was, that lid was. That flea meets another flea. They have flea babies. The flea babies will only be able to jump as far as that lid was. That's also crazy. And it's something that they learn because because it sees its parents' limitations, so they live within those same limitations, right? And it's but that's their world, that's their reality, and they don't know any better, so they don't realize how much greatness they have on the inside of them, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how a lot of, I think, and I'm not one of those people that's saying these younger generations are growing up and living and being born in a worse off state. It's just different, right? Like you said, it's foreign. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's all bad, but it's just different. But I think that we don't know our full capabilities if we were just out there on our own. But the dichotomy is the fact that we're living in a more progressive and a more advanced society lets you know that we are great. And it's not that, okay, now we're lazy. We created this world. It's something to be said about that. So if you take all this stuff away, fast forward 500 years, and we're at the beginning, and we'll do it all over again because that's who we are. It's gonna, you see what I'm saying? We'll always create in advance because that's what we do. We always looking to you know, that's just what's inside of us. But back to it again, just values, and then knowing who you are, how you are. It's the same thing with anything. We talk about business and finance and stuff a lot, and about having a game plan for stuff. You got to have a game plan for life also, because there's going to be a lot of different things, I believe, that we're faced with that seem shiny, that seem good, that seem convenient. But like, what do you value? What are you working towards? Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're at? You know, and that's what it comes down to. So to me, at the end of the day, when I think about these AIs and everything.
So I know you're trying to bring it back to something relevant, but let me
go ahead.
Back
I'm here for
a second.
I'm here for it. Go ahead.
So there's a thought process. It's probably wrong, but there's a thought process. What you were talking about is like, we get 500 years from now, maybe we start in this process over whatever. Like, there's a thought process that, you know, I don't know if you've seen this what is it called? Ancient Apocalypse show just came out recently. Anyway, they talk about like the idea that civilization is actually a lot older than we think.
Okay.
And there's some evidence for that. But I think it's probably like not that many people in the field agree with that, but it is a thought process. I don't know whether it's true or not. Anyway, so the thought process is that there was some kind of cataclysmic thing that happened like 11,000 years ago, and we were a much more advanced society until that happened. And there was only a few of us left afterwards, a few humans. And so the humans became a lot more barbaric. They lost a lot of that knowledge, and they had to kind of start over. And we built it back to this point. And one thought process is maybe that's the natural order of things, that we get to this point, we create AI that wipes us out.
Yeah, that's what.
And then we have to start over.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. It's like the whole Tower of Babel type of thing. You know, we build it up so high, then it's like to our detriment.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, okay, here we go. Let's do it again. You know, if you could fast forward stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of, who knows? You know, it's interesting. It's fun to think about.
It is. Yeah, I don't know, but I know right now you can definitely use it to your advantage.
Well,
You
right
can
now,
definitely
for sure.
take advantage of ChatGPT and Jasper and Motion, and there's like all kind of stuff that you can do.
Yeah,
You know.
if you're really serious about getting stuff done
Mm-hmm.
and helping to not make sure you get into that flow of, was it decision fatigue?
Yeah.
Like offset some of these responsibilities to someone who never gets tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
You can definitely do that.
that's such a great idea. Listen, I look forward to those opportunities now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, is it going to make us less creative as a people as a whole? You think?
Definitely could. I don't know. We've definitely become less physically fit when since we haven't had to become physically fit to survive. So maybe it makes us dumb. Who knows?
Dang, it's crazy. Like it's so ironic though. Like we create these things
Yeah.
out of our brilliance,
No.
and then it makes us dumb. You know, we go
That's
outside.
just dumb.
Listen, we go outside. We chase down the food with the spear. We get the zebra, and we, I don't know if I can say that. You might have to edit that. I don't know. So maybe some of my African ancestors did allow me. I've been to Africa anyway. Yeah. So we go down. We chase down the spear. We chase down the zebra. Bring it home, and then we get fat off the zebra. Isn't that crazy?
Well, the thing is, you don't have to chase it down anymore. You start breeding it.
Well,
so like you create your own zebra, and then it's such a brilliant thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It makes you.
But the initial process, is like what the work that it took, the skill, all that stuff initially, and then now that we have it, it's like we get weaker and wiser, is what they say, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting. So that kind of comes back to building wealth and making your life easier. I think about this a lot with my kids too. So like, you've probably heard the story. It's like, how does that saying go? It's hard times make strong men. Or I don't remember. I'm gonna tear it up.
No, it's a hard head makes a soft behind. That's what it is.
That's definitely not it.
I heard.
I don't think that's it.
Okay. Old school. No, they said hard times make hard men
make easy times.
Yeah.
Easy times make soft men.
Yep.
Yeah, and soft men make hard times.
Yep, that's the
cycle.
Yep.
So I think about this a lot with my kids because like they live a pretty good life right now. They're able to do and get a lot of things that a lot of other kids aren't. So they're privileged in a way. So I have to think sometimes about how to make them not give in to that privilege and become soft and like, lazy and not focused. So you see this a lot with people who have money and their kids are given everything and then it makes them worse. So it's something that I don't really, it's hard to deal with. And maybe it's not that hard. You give them responsibility. I think that's probably the answer.
Oh yeah.
If you take responsibility away from those kids, they become soft and useless. So why would that not happen to us when AI takes away everything that we need to do?
That's good, man. I like that. And you hear people like, I hear people like Shaq and Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, I heard him the other day say, "I've never let one of my kids drive my cars." And Shaq is like, "I don't give none of them no money until they
I got money. You ain't got no money.
Yeah. I'm rich. You ain't rich,
right?
And then you got people like, and I'm a little bit. This one right here was a little bit different. I kind of like, depending on how he did it. But Rick Ross gave his son a Wingstop restaurant franchise on his 16th birthday.
That's interesting.
That's different. That's not just something you throw. Like if you're showing him and teaching him about business, how to run it, how to manage it. And everything that involves, then I like that.
Okay, here's a good story for you. Okay. I've got an 8-year-old son. He just turned 8. And he's done now 3 or 4 different businesses. He started when he was 5, I think. He did slime. He actually made like $500 in a day. So it was pretty cool. He went and bought a boat. Well, a canoe. So anyway, he's done a couple of these things now. And this last one that he did, he didn't put a whole lot of effort into his first time losing money. But what we've done, we've given him a certain amount of money. It's like $1,000. He can only access this money if he has a business idea or he wants to invest in something. So he can't just go and get it.
That's good.
and he knows that, but he can use the profit that he makes to go and buy stuff. So if he goes out and sells his slime, he can go buy a boat if he wants to, whatever. But he can't access the capital unless he's using it. So his money that we give him is capital. It's not spending money.
It's not an allowance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do pay them. We're starting to do this where we pay them monthly for doing certain things. But that money is available to them to use as capital to start a business or to invest in something, whatever it is.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
So the hope is that they learn they're not just getting money for free, and that they learn, some skills along the way too.
I really like that.
Unless AI takes over and kills us all. So.
Then it ain't gonna matter.
It won't matter.
Listen, man, what we need to do is
we got bigger problems if that happens.
Well, we need to buy an island.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. You can get one for like $5 million or cheaper.
Way less than
well, what I'm saying is you can get.
I looked into one here in Georgia, and listen. We can get one,
bro. Listen, I'm telling. So the reason why I say $5 million is because the ones that are like 800 and 2 million, they need a whole. It's pretty much a rock with a rock, right?
Maybe, but
it's a lot of work.
There's some around here that are not that expensive.
Yeah. Oh, really? You know some
nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's an Airbnb opportunity, maybe. So.
Okay. I see. Well, that is, and we could start maybe some kind of. Yacht or some kind of some kind of cruise. We might have a clever name for it.
Maybe.
Entertaining.
What would happen on this yacht?
I don't know, man. It just depends. What people are willing to pay. I don't know. Yeah,
it's not a bad idea. We got a business brewing.
Yeah, we do. So I didn't buy my son a Wingstop franchise restaurant, but I did bought them a vending machine. Remember that vending machine?
I do remember that. Yeah.
So we're now at the point where we're starting to talk about, all right, let's fix this up together. Let's stock some stuff. Let's find a location. Like the stage we're at right now, we just started talking about it, is the SOP, the standard operating procedure, because I wanted them to treat this like a business. Because I told them a while ago, I was like, I need you to be making some passive income. I want to teach you that because with my kids, they're young. And I want them to be young as long as they want to be, as long as they are young. And they don't know what they want to do. I know people my age, like who knows what I'm going to be doing by the time I'm 65. Who knows? KFC didn't start KFC until Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until he was a senior. He was older. He was like 60 or so or something like that. Yeah. Maybe he might have even been 70. But anyway, one thing that I tell them is like, one thing that you will do is have real estate. You will have passive income. I will teach you the real estate game. So that way you will always have money. You understand it. You can always create money.
You can do what you want.
And that's exactly it. So that you can do what you want to do. My daughter talks about being a missionary, right? And the number one thing that keeps missionaries out of the mission field is money. What a travesty. You're going out there to help people that don't have resources, that don't have things, and you can't go out there because of money? Nah, that's not going to be the case. Right. So what you're going to do is spend these years from now until whenever learning how to make money, learning how to create, how to purchase, how to grow real estate so you can always have some passive income. And you can do it full time if you want to forever and grow it as big as you want, or you can just, have a certain goal, maintain that, and then just kind of navigate how you want to. And that's the goal. That's the plan to happen. It's super open-ended, but they both know that's the one thing that they're excited about that.
That's awesome. I love that theory too. I've thought about this a lot too. People talk about like college retirement plans and college plans and all this stuff. First of all,
AI.
maybe we should get into college a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we do another one about that.
We're talking about education. You can hit on it.
Okay. I think college is useless for almost everybody. Let me look in the camera. College is useless for you, most likely. Okay. Like, don't do it. I spent 10 years in college for no damn reason.
Listen, we got to watch the link to that short he just made, okay?
Yeah. So, okay. We talked about the guy who was in college for IT in a field that probably won't exist in 5 years. So frustrating to me. Anyway, so I got a degree in philosophy. I was talking to a he's not a kid, he's a grown man now, but somebody that I've known for a little while.
Okay.
And we're starting this education thing to teach people how to invest in real estate. And which, by the way, I was talking to an acquisitions person that works with me acquisitions manager, whatever his title is at this point. We were talking about some deals we were looking at, some different things, and we were talking about AI, and we were like, I feel like real estate investing is one thing that will probably take a while for AI to take over because, in order to buy real estate, you have to have rights and all this stuff. I feel like the laws are probably not going to change that quickly. So maybe real estate is one of those things that's a little bit AI proof, at least for a while.
There you go.
I don't know, but it just seems that way. So anyway, you need to own an asset for sure that can't be taken away by a robot in the short term, at least. Anyway, I was talking to this guy who I knew had gone to college, and he was like, man, he had seen some of our content. He's like, man, I really want to learn to do what you did. And I was like, listen, we got a course that's coming out, and if you want to join, let me know, whatever. So he said, well, how much is it? Everything is so expensive right now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this mindset is the thing that holds people back. So I said, okay, did you go to college? You went to college, right? He's like, yeah, I went to the school, and I graduated with this degree, which was, it's like a music degree or whatever.
Okay, arbitrary.
So, yeah, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I have a philosophy degree, whatever. After 10 years.
Right. You always throw that caveat in there.
Yeah. It took me a while.
I got a 10-year degree.
To wind my way up to that. Anyway, yeah, I do have more undergraduate hours than probably any human in the world. So I was like a 10th year senior at one point. And my professor, we were doing this like, everybody introduce yourself on the first day thing. And I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm Keith. I've been here since 2002.
And I'm a professional student.
Yeah. And she's like, wow, how many hours do you have? And I told her, and she's like, you must be the smartest undergraduate in the world. I said, or the dumbest. I don't know which one at this point. Anyway,
yeah, she was probably like, I was a sophomore in high school when you started college.
Yeah. She might have been younger than me. I don't know. Actually, she wasn't, but
okay.
I might have had a professor who was younger than me. Anyway, it definitely could have happened. But
so he has this irrelevant degree.
Yeah, he's got this irrelevant degree. Well, it doesn't even matter what the degree is. He's got a degree in college. And I said, okay, cool. I'm glad you got your degree, whatever. How much did you pay for tuition the whole time you were there? And so it's more of a thought game. It's not necessarily a real thing. But if you think about this, like I went to school for however long. I had some student debt. I don't anymore, but I had some student debt that I probably would have been paying on forever if I didn't get into real estate and make some money to pay them off. So, lots of people go to school. They get $100,000 in debt. I think I had like 30, and most of it was because I had scholarships and stuff like that. So I was, I didn't even pay, and my parents paid for some stuff. So like, I didn't pay for a lot of my schooling, but I still wound up with like $30,000 in student loan debts.
Right.
So, it wasn't actually 10 years. It was close to that, but if you count it all together, maybe graduate, undergraduate. Anyway, so yeah. So, so he, I was like, how much did you pay for your school? And if you can come up with that number, how much do you owe? How much do you make? Think about your return on investment. Like it costs 6 figures to go through school. Most people get a degree that's going to make them $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe a little more, but what's the average salary now? 50, 60,000?
Yeah, about 60 maybe.
Yeah. So a lot of people get degrees that don't pay them very well based on how much they paid to get it. Their return on that investment is not very good. But I paid $16,000 for a course one time. And it was about marketing and sales and stuff like that. And I bet I have made $1 million off of that. Probably way more than that, actually. So my return on investment for that course is like thousands of percent, So like, I feel like we're at this point where it's acceptable to go to school and pay 6 figures, but it's weird if you go online and pay 5 figures for a course. Like, I don't understand this process. Your degree, 99 times out of 100, is not going to get you a very good return on your investment.
Right.
I mean, if you're a doctor, lawyer, okay, fine. Maybe an engineer, but most of them don't make great money.
But
it depends on what you think great money is.
Right.
So I'm gonna brag a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you think? Yeah, you're good.
So I wanted to be a baseball player growing up.
Right.
That was like my thing. I wanted to play baseball.
That's right. Chop my arm off.
Yes, I would have done anything.
Down the mound.
And part of it's because they make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really make that much money. Like when you start getting into stuff like real estate, you realize like, man, most of those guys don't make that much money at all. I think last year I made more than like 60% of Major League Baseball players. Maybe more than that.
That's crazy.
So like the guys at the top make a lot of money.
Right.
But the guys at the bottom are scraping by. The guys in minor leagues are like not even making a living.
Right.
So like,
yeah.
Like we just have this really warped idea of what it takes to be successful and what being successful means when it comes to money. I'm not talking about happiness. That's warped too. We can have that conversation. That's a different one. But when it comes to money, like this idea that you want to go to college and pay $100,000+ to make enough money to survive, but you won't pay $10 or $20 or $30,000 in coaching. That's going to make you $1 million in the next year. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. I probably spent $100,000 in coaching this year alone, but I bet my return on that investment will be way higher than my return on my 10 years of college.
Absolutely.
So it's just this idea of education that we have, I think, is so warped. And I think most people go to college because they think it's going to get them a good job and a good salary. And I think most people probably should just go and find somebody who's done what they are doing. And if they have to pay them, that's fine. If you can find a mentor that will let you come in and take their time for free, great.
Yeah.
Most of the time, though, you're probably going to have to pay them in some way or another. Maybe it's working for them, whatever it is. Yeah. Find somebody who has done what you want to do or has the life that you want, and just go and do what you need to do to learn from them.
You know, that's why I really like the model that your school does. Y'all got a lot of y'all get your hands into a lot of different things. Get a chance to try some things. You can't really expect an 18-year-old, 17, 18, 19-year-old to know what they want to do with their life.
Right.
When they finish taking all these tests for the past 13 years.
Right.
Like, okay.
That's all they've done.
I had this conversation with my son the other day.
Your kid, just for the record, your kids have never been to school, right?
Public school, correct.
Never been to public school.
Correct.
Yeah.
Had this conversation with my son the other day. He said, "So, Daddy, what's college like?" I was like, you can take the classes that you want, kind of, and you schedule out your day. There's no one telling you to go somewhere for the most part, and you do what you want to do. He's like, "Oh, okay, that's he says it's like you can be a lot more efficient and get stuff done." I said, "Yeah, that's the thought." But you spend a lot of time taking these classes that you don't really need. And he said, "So how did you do it? What did you do?" I said, "Well, actually, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, just like a lot of other people." Yeah. He said, "Why'd you go to college?" I was like, "Because it was comfortable." Yeah. And that was what you were supposed to do. During my time, I seem old now. I can't believe I said that, but during my like that back in my day, that's what you did after high school. Is that was our option. You went to college, right? That was the best thing you could do, is go to college. Yeah. If you went to college, then at that point you had already made it. Especially coming from somebody in my family who didn't have a whole lot of college graduates. Me just going to college, I was like, "Oh, he done made it." Right. He done made it now. Yeah, he done made it. So I said, and so I went to you and I actually went to first year went to the same historically black college, HBCU. Go E-Dub.
Yep, E-Dub.
And that was like $30,000 a year, right, or something like that.
I was on a baseball scholarship.
Me too. I had a football scholarship. So, but anywho, just suffice it to say, let's say $30,000 times 4, $120,000, right? Is that right? $120,000 for 4 years. That's just tuition, okay?
Right. That's not housing and all the other stuff. Yeah.
So I said, but Nico, I realized during my first year that I did not want to play football for a living. First of all, I wasn't good enough. Secondly, I didn't even want to play football to begin with. After high school, I didn't. Yeah. But I had my mentor. He wanted me to go on this tour to go talk, and he told me to bring my tape with me, and I talked my way to a scholarship pretty much. He saw my film, and so after we got out of the meeting, my mentor was like, D, you talked your way into a scholarship. He was like, that was very impressive. I was like, well, so as a black man, like our talk game is better than our credit score. That's our rite of passage, right? You feel me? Anyway, so, but I knew I didn't want to play football for a living. I wasn't good enough. I didn't want to do it as a job. It wasn't fun anymore in college.
Right. Yeah.
And I wouldn't, college wasn't teaching me anything also, because I was just taking, I just went to college because that's what you did and all that stuff. Yep. So after that first year, I stopped going to college, going to a university, and I went to a trade school. Because I wanted to be a chiropractor and massage therapist. Mm-hmm. So then I spent, I don't remember, let's just say it was $15,000 for a 1 year vocational thing. And I've made so much more money because it was a practical, hands-on vocational school, trade school, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And because I went directly into what I want to go to. I didn't do any more English. I didn't do no trigonometry, and I still haven't done it. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I told my son, I said, you might not know what you want to do right now, but that's okay. But don't just do something just because, right? Mm-hmm. You have time. So once again, you're going to learn real estate.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you how to be a carpenter and do all this stuff in the house as well. You're going to have skills to take you anywhere. You're going to know how to build wealth and create income anytime. Mm-hmm. And if you want to specialize in something else, okay, then it makes sense to go to college.
Right.
Right. And then that might not be necessary by the time it's time for him to go.
Yeah.
Depending on what the certification process look like for what he's trying to get into and things like that. But I said all that to say that's why I like the way that you guys do it at school, because y'all got your hands in all kind of different things. So you might have a better idea of what you want to do by the time you're ready to get out on your own.
Yeah.
So just to piggyback off of what you're saying, college is not necessarily necessary. Spending all that money for a degree that you probably won't even use. Mm-hmm. Not just because of AI, but just in general. There's a surplus if everybody had a degree. But like, do something, learn some skills now. Like, I try to encourage people all the time. Like, what do your kids do? Okay, you play video. Okay, that's cool that they play video games. What else do y'all do?
Yeah.
You never know what they're going to be interested in.
Right.
Like, man, I think
they need to have a lot of experiences.
They do, and that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. I knew before I had kids that my kids were going to be just like me. They want to like everything that I like, and that could not be any further from the truth. One of my kids don't like watermelon. The other one don't like music. I'm just like, who are y'all? But so you get humbled really quickly, and it's like, okay, y'all definitely my kids, first of all, right? But they're their own individuals, right? So give them a lot of different experiences, and then whatever they gravitate towards, like, cheer them on in that, right? Invest in that,
too, because I think most parents push them in a certain direction, and you have to let them be their own person. That's probably the hardest thing actually in parenting, is like letting them make their own mistakes and be their own person. And so, I think you're right. I love the idea of teaching them how to have passive income where they can do whatever they want to do. So, like, at that point, that's when you have real freedom.
That's
not that you have millions and millions of dollars coming in every month from your business that you work 80 hours at, unless that's what you want to do.
Right.
But if you can't step away, like if you made the decision that you didn't want to and you can't step away, then that's not real freedom.
Right.
But I think real estate, there's other ways. I mean, certain businesses, different things, but
right.
But real estate's probably the oldest one, the one that everybody knows about, right? So, and the one that I know about because that's what I did. Mm-hmm. But to build that passive income where you can step away, if you build the business the right way, you can step away and then you can have your own life and do whatever it is that you want to do. Mm-hmm. Then, I had a high school teacher actually who told me one day, he was also a coach. Mm-hmm. I think he coached basketball. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he was like, you either have to make enough money where you can do what you want to do, or you have to get a job in the field that you want to be in. There's only two ways. Like, you got to either do one of those two things. And I think what he didn't understand was that you can do both of those things, even if they're not the same. You can have enough passive income where you can go and work for $10 an hour doing whatever you want to do, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
So, like, or just, whatever it is, I would caution people away from not working at all. Mm-hmm. However, I think retirement is like leading to death, even if you're 20.
Right.
However, like, you should probably if you can make enough money in a way that you're not needed, then you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And you have to find some kind of meaningful work. in order to be happy, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I think AI right now can help you with that if you can use it the right way.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. That's cool. So 2 things I want to say as I'm landing my plane is there's a difference between a job and an occupation.
Yeah.
Right. A job, anyone can do a job, but what you occupy your time with is something that's a little bit different, something that I think you're a little bit more passionate about. Right now, I would think it's safe to say that your occupation is building real estate curriculum and courses and coaching, right? That's an occupation. That's what you choosing to occupy your time. And your job is real estate. It's something that's what's making you money, right?
Right. Yeah. So I have the real estate that can pay the bills.
Yeah.
So that I can do the things that I want to do, and I enjoy real estate too. So I want to do that still.
Yeah.
Although, like,
you just happen to enjoy real estate also.
If I had to be a property manager full time, probably it wouldn't be my choice. You know what I mean? But I could do it if I needed to. But like, it wouldn't be my choice. So my choice is to hire somebody to do that for me, have an asset that pays me, and I'll try to find somebody who wants to be a property manager. There are people out there who want to do the things that you don't want to do.
Sure.
So, like, go find that person.
Yeah.
There's probably, matter of fact, my old business partner told me when I told him I wanted to do coaching years ago, he was like, man, I hate teaching. I hate it. I do not want to be, I don't want to do that at all. It's like the worst thing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. So, like, hire me and I'll do it. You know, like, I'll do that stuff. There's somebody else who wants to do the thing that you don't want to do. Hire them, make them happy, make their life better by letting them do the thing that they want to do. And then you can go and do the thing that you want to do, and you have an asset that pays for your lifestyle. Maybe your asset is the thing that you want to do. That's fine too, but it didn't have to be that way. So, like, your kids might fall in love with real estate. They may want to only do that forever. That's fine. But like you said before, they can build it as big as they want, do it full time if they want, but they don't have to do it at all if they don't want to. They don't have to be in the business in order to have to own the asset that pays them.
Right. And that's the thing. That's what makes it true passive income. I think a lot of people get kind of, and that's one of the things we talk about in our coaching classes, like really making it an asset where it really pays you, and you don't have to be there all the time. That's when it's really passive, right? I got this one this one friend of mine. He tells me all the time he's retired, but every time I talk to him, he's like he's at work or got to work. He's like, hey, man, how's retired life? Yo, you know, I'm retired. It's good, you know, and everything. But let me call you back later, man. I'm over here trying to replace this such and such. Okay, cool, man. All right, man. Enjoy the retired life, you know? So you can retire from a job, but not from your occupation.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Yeah. Is what I think.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So cool, man.
All right.
All right.